All right. Oh, hey, everybody. This was happening. Let's try this again.
Hey. Hey. How you doing?
I see you. Hey, you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I am.
I just found out that you could stream online, but it's too late to do it. So we'll do it for the next time since we already started. Okay.
What do you mean?
Now my guests can stream on their own social media.
Oh, nice.
It's a new feature. Anyway, people are starting to watch. Hey, girl.
What's up? I'm sorry. Hold on.
It's okay. We're here. Now your audio's off.
Yeah, I turned it off so I could scream at the dog.
Okay. Peace, everybody. I'm Rosa Clemente. Thank you for joining me tonight at Disrupt the Chaos. What I do want to say is I really appreciate people so much. Some of you want to volunteer, someone want to raise money, and I need a producer and a social media person. So if anybody has those skills and wants to volunteer, that means things like this won't happen, where I'm also producing the show and with all the technical difficulties. So peace, everybody on Instagram Live. Somehow I can't figure out how to do it. So then I do it old school. We're here. Our guest is here. My homie, my comrade, who I'll finally be seeing in 3 days, Nancy Mansour, Executive Director of Eye on Palestine. Ooh, born in the UK to Palestinian parents, Nancy was raised and educated in South Bronx. No, I did that on purpose. South London. Did you catch that? I did that on purpose. Where she studied business, finance, and management. After moving to New York in her early 20s, she pursued a career in entertainment as a radio and event host for over 13 years and managed various artists in the music industry. During this time, she worked in hospitality and healthcare industries, most recently at the Center for Innovation in Mental Health at the School of Public Health at CUNY. In 2009, Nancy co-founded Existence is Resistance, a grassroots not-for-profit voluntary organization that took numerous delegations to Palestine, conducting workshops with children in refugee camps, as well as organizing hundreds of events and conferences in the United States and Europe. She has worked with and built strong ties with various movements across the board and on the ground in Palestine. Give it up. Hey, girl. Nancy's the person that you're with when you think you're mad radical, and then she says something, you're like, I'm not radical. What Nancy just said. And that's my girl. And we have to have levity. We have to laugh. I'm not saying anything is funny. I'm just like, it's a lot. It's a lot, y'all. Like every day, it's a lot. And in fact, this is how bad this is going to be. Donald Trump is putting Matt Gaetz, who is a known sex trafficker who had to leave the Congress, is now going to be the Attorney General. And then, as usual, the other party, who is still mourning why they lost, have just won the Congress like 2 hours ago. So all these cabinet positions are going to be filled immediately. Okay, look, they got the president, the Supreme Court, the Senate, the Congress, and 285 federal judges they're about to appoint in the next month. And people have to understand, federal judges are the ones that do the work in many districts. District 9 is the New York one, and they're the ones that like went after Epstein, or they should have. Puff Daddy, all those times you see that brother who runs District 9, that's him. But now there's been over 200 that the Democrats have tried to stop. Effectively, they will do nothing because they cannot do anything. And I think all the other people he's appointed are just as crazy. But he's the one that's a sex trafficker who's gonna run the law in America. Like, yo, right? And then not that I care, I don't want anybody to join the military, but the dude who never had anything but going to war, a commentator on Fox News, is now going to run the military. He's going to run. He just said all the DEI and all the woke stuff, the gays and the queers and the women, we don't want you in the military. And all I could say is, actually, I don't want you to join the military. And that's the madness. That's the craziness. Like, they're not playing. They have everything. So also what I was talking about earlier, for those that, watched earlier my little Instagram live where I went through a couple points. But around the deportation, if people are thinking it's not going to happen, you're wrong. They already have it where they want to put the camps, how many planes, what major cities. They're not coming up with a list of over 1 million people they want to target. And it's so frustrating to hear progressive lawyers and left lawyers be like, well, we'll take them to court. What court? They run everything. Like, what are you doing? You're telling people that the law is going to help them. It's not, right? So we need more of us at this point. And we need to be very strategic. And as I've been saying, the work cannot be national. There's not a national movement. Too many people are broken. Relationships, the nonprofit industrial complex. I think we can do the most work in the local communities where we reside. So, hey, Nancy, girl, hello. Thank you for being here tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And obviously, I just want to know how you're feeling after the election and what's going on in Palestine, the latest updates that you can give us and let it know how your family is doing in this time.
Peace, sis. Thank you for having me. I was just laughing because the news today too, we have a new Department of Government Efficiency.
With Elon Musk. The same ones that are always like, we don't need any more bureaucracy, just made up a whole department. And what they're saying is they're going to cut the Department of Education to fund. Elon Musk is in the government now.
I mean, so like part of it is comical, but I just think it's a fantastic representation of the United States. Do you know what I mean? You could have one felony and you're restricted to certain jobs, but you can have 34 felonies, have your goons run up in Washington, D.C. and become president for the second time. I mean, how American is that? You know what I mean? Like, I just, again, like, I'm glad that Killer Kamala didn't win.
You said Killer Kamala?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad she didn't win. Because it taught her a lesson when she told people to shut up because she's speaking when they want to tell her to stop funding genocide, and she didn't give two shits. So I have absolutely, I'm glad she didn't win because it showed, that folks just weren't going to vote for a killer. And, I feel like at least with, and of course, like their 30-day thing they gave Israel ended yesterday, and they said, oh, Israel's been allowing humanitarian aid, and that's absolute bullshit. An area in Palestine that you can drive from one end to the other in 20 minutes, and you get 200 trucks on a regular day, right? They get 200 trucks in on a regular day, although Israel's always been, the occupation has always been counting their calories. So 200 was the minimal to keep everybody alive there, but they were getting that on a regular day. So now you're talking about like 5 trucks here and there, if that, you know what I mean? And as far as him, he's, at least he's honest. You know what I mean? He's honest. Like he doesn't. I don't feel like. I feel like he says what he's gonna do. You know what I mean? And I also think that he represents America, the state of it, and the just the absolute craziness of it all. The fact that he won, and and he's back. He's like, yo, I can do whatever I want. If he was enabled then, like, imagine now how he's feeling.
He
And
has
he's
a
bringing
huge.
all these goons with him. Like, they just talking about how he put Elon Musk. Anyway, the point is, they're just, I think he represents America. I mean, I'm not mad. I mean, I'm not mad. I don't know what, you know what I mean? I don't really know. For me, he he applied for a job position. It's a job position, and no matter who gets it, from Obama to him to Killer Kamala or Holocaust Harris, I like that one too. Like whoever gets it, they're filling a job position. You know what I'm saying? They might
Yeah.
add a little sprinkle of craziness here and there, but it's not really. It's not really. I mean, we have to understand that it's not really them that are making the calls. Um, I don't know if people factor in how much money APAC is giving them, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. I mean, they're getting paid money. All these governors that wouldn't even call for a ceasefire, So, I mean, you know, I'm like, what? It makes no difference to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It
mean, the
makes no
truth
difference
is,
because whoever is president
yeah,
is still going to fund Israel. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
absolutely. And like you said, he's true. It's like, our elders who lived through Jim Crow before civil rights, right, would always be like, well, I rather know what's going on in the South and them calling me the N-word than being in the quote liberal Northeast pretending, and that's absolutely right. Like people still kind of don't want to hear that, which means you still think that this is the American project or the electoral political project. That is dead, and I think that's what people have a hard time kind of understanding. And then us as movement folks and organizers, we also know that we engender a lot of privilege when so many people in this country are the victims of capitalism, but that is the truth. And when my daughter sends me a text and is like, oh, on her, like ABCDE, and she's like, so we got the house in Puerto Rico. I was like, yeah. I was like, because however this turns out, many of us may be going somewhere out of this country to either be with our people or be part of what I think will be independence movements in different ways. For those on Instagram, if you go to YouTube, you can join us in the chat. So the last thing I was hearing today is the utter destruction. And I was reading an article that said just to clean up, if there's anything to clean up, in Gaza will take 15 years. And how you're saying about the food trucks, they're like lying about that. And then the little bit, and people are so desperate. Like, what are the things that you and your family know that's going on that we are just no longer seeing because especially the mainstream media has gone, Trump crazy and not even talking about what's going on right now, this genocide, annihilation of people.
Well, the mainstream media has been full of shit, and they've never reported fairly on this whatsoever, ever, in the history of the creation of the manufactured, illegal, psychotic state of Israel. So they've never reported fairly. But we can see it. I mean, if people go online, they'll see it. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything people aren't seeing. The only thing I'll say is, I just started doing like report backs from the medical mission that I took in March of this year. And, the first thing I say is the happiest and saddest place that I've ever been to on earth. And what we're seeing as gruesome as it seems, right? Shredded babies, beheaded babies, Hind Rajab, the 6-year-old that was, on the phone. They have a recording of her and her cousin being shot while she's on the phone with the Red Cross. Her whole family is dead around her. You know, a 6-year-old pleading to the Red Cross to come pick her up. Then her mum gets on the phone with her. Imagine her mum, her 6-year-old, like she can't get to her and save her, and she's like, you know, half an hour away, but she can't because there's tanks surrounding them. And the girl's talking about she's got blood coming out her mouth, and then the phone goes dead, you know, 3 hours later. Like, that's the last thing her mum's gonna remember. You know, the brother, there's a video of a brother that I watched that was apologizing to his daughter because he couldn't save her as she lay there dying, like half her head was gone, and he's just apologizing to her. You know, the brother Jamal Abul Ula, you know, 30 years old, was kidnapped by the Israelis. Next day, sent into Nasser hospital in a hazmat suit with a yellow band around his head with handcuffs still on. And they told him, go in and tell all the displaced people who were taking shelter there to walk out. And he's like begging people. I just did an interview with his mum and his brother last week. And, you know, his mum saying like nobody trusted it. They thought it was a setup, so they didn't want to go. And she was like, I told him, I'll go with you, son. And then maybe people will trust it a little bit more. And so she walks out with him and they shoot him 3 times in the head. In front of his mom. You know, like all these stories, right? All these stories. It's like, I don't know what else people have to see. There's nothing you're not seeing, but all of that combined is about 5% of what's happening on the ground there. And when we talk about destruction, I mean, destruction's never been an issue. They have flattened refugee camp after refugee camp. They flattened, you know, they've bombed the crap out of Gaza before. You remember M1 came with me in 2009 after they bombed it, you know, for 3 weeks then. Destruction is nothing. They can rebuild. And, you know, they say 15 years, but in all honesty, Palestinians are determined. Like, I feel like it will depend on how many people come in to help, but I have faith that there's enough people on the right side of history that people will go to support that effort. But, you know, it's not even, I don't even think about the destruction. I haven't thought about the destruction I don't think about that. Like, that part of rebuilding, it's material shit to me. I think about, even when there's the most basic of a ceasefire, right? I think about how do you get over burying all your children? How do you get over not burying all your children because they decomposed? How do you get over not burying your children because they've been under a building for the last 7 months and nobody's been able to pull them out? How are people going to get over that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about the numbers, the Lancet, the medical journal in the UK, predicted 186,000 being the real number of deaths because of the people missing, the children missing, the people under the rubble. And that was a few months ago. So in reality, we're looking at over 200,000 Palestinians. And so you think about those 200,000 and each of them had a family, if they weren't the whole family that got wiped out. And that's how do you overcome that trauma? That's the stuff that I look at. The things that people have seen. You know, I got a couple of very close brothers of mine that I met when I was there in March, and that I knew from when I went in 2009, that I talked to very regularly. And just the things that they say, you know, one of them, his dad was trying to get back to their house. His elderly father was trying to get back to see their house if it was still standing. And that was on the 13th of March this year. And he never returned. And they know that that area got completely, everyone was executed that went back to that area. So, you know, he says to me, did my dad's body decompose? Did he get buried? Did he not get buried? Did the dogs eat him? So, I mean, all these things that people have been witnessing, even the kids, they're witnessing this. It's not just like adult, you know what I'm saying? You can't hide it because they're all in the streets because they're all fucking homeless at this point. But you're talking about kids are watching animals eat their, you know, their brothers and sisters' body parts. You know what I'm saying? How are we gonna fix that? I don't think there is fixing that. Do you know what I'm saying? What is it going to be, a cycle of violence? You know what I'm saying? Like, all these, that's the stuff that I worry about, is like, what's going to happen to Palestinian society? You know, I can say when I was there in March, they'd already been in the genocide, 6 months, 7 months. It was nothing but love. Like, the people still had love in their heart. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know, I still feel that love when I talk to my people there, because that's just who we are as a people. But it's a deep trauma, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're traumatized and we're here, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're completely traumatized, and we're here. So I can't. That's the part that I want to know. What are we going to do about that? You know what I'm saying? How are we going to all these orphans? You know what I mean? All the you're talking about 1 in 10, 1 in 10 Palestinian children are now amputees. You know what I'm saying? How are we going to deal with that? I think those are the things we should care about more than a fucking building. You know what I'm saying? I feel like all of that will come. All of that will come. All the guilt of these nasty ass Arab states that surround us that are complicit in this shit. They'll put up money because that's how they, they're that parent that don't give a shit about the child and just throw money at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, can
I'm
you
not
talk
saying,
about that? All
huh?
the other Arab countries, because I don't. Well, first, I think there might
Well,
not be.
shout out to Yemen. Big up Yemen. Yemen is the realest motherfucker out there. Shout out
But
to
the
Yemen.
rest, like, why are they the ones trying to negotiate the ceasefire? Like, I just politically, I don't understand that part. But all these states, are they? Do they have like some relationship with Israel that? Like, I'm trying to. I know if I don't know, a lot of people might not understand that. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, they do. Or we talk about like oh God, where shall I start? The king of Jordan that went on a plane for like a cameo and was like throwing fucking aid out the fucking plane, like he gave a shit. And people getting crushed, babies getting crushed, elderlies getting killed with this aid that's being dropped on them by Americans and Jordanians. Um, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia just normalized their relations with Israel, and it's all about money. And these are the leaders. I wouldn't say it's the people. The people are definitely not about that. But you also have to understand, like in the UAE, let's just talk about Saudi Arabia being America's biggest ally, right, in the Middle East. Okay, out of the Arab countries, Saudi Arabia is a huge ally of the. You saw Trump there with the crystal ball and shit, right? A few years back. They still chop heads off by law. If you're a thief, they chop your hands off.
Does the
So
UAE also encompass Dubai?
yeah,
So,
yeah, the
like, if
UAE.
people, because I've seen, like, obviously all the commercials and all of that, but then I was like, why would you go somewhere where it's really shiny and pretty, but you know what they're doing? Because what I've seen the last couple of years is like a lot of African American Latino people going there, like even some people I know, and I'm like, I don't think we should be visiting. Like,
It's
right?
the Arab Disneyland. That's what I
Mm,
call it. I call it the Arab Disneyland.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's a desert. They have to make their own rain. I don't trust it. It's not real rain. It's fake. If their rain is fake, you know what I'm saying? Like, what can we say? I went there once and I only did that because my aunt, I love her, God bless her. She was living out there and I was shitting on Dubai, right? Because they've got 2024 slaves. Like they still have slavery well and popping out there. People from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Africa, using in Oman, when they were building for the Olympics, people falling off the building
Right.
every day. Nobody gave a shit. That's a whole system we could talk about. But I mean, essentially, I went there because my aunt was like, you can't talk about it and not see it with your own eyes. So there was an opportunity where there was something for Palestine. And so I went because it was free. And I was like, all right, I'll go, I'll see it. And so I said to her, okay, now I've been, fuck Dubai. You know what I'm saying? But it is an Arab Disneyland. Like it's a place for just money. It's very what's the word? Um it's a very shallow place. It's like the Vegas of the Arab world. You know what I'm saying? It's the
Mhm.
Vegas of the Arab world where pretty much everything goes with this fake ass rule of like, because everybody thinks, if they catch you with like weed or if they catch you with alcohol in the airport, you're gonna get like 200 whippings and a fine or be sent home, whatever. Um, but there are bars in every hotel. There are bars and nightclubs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can do all that shit if you're in there. It's kind of it's bugged out. But essentially, it's really the leaders of all these places that have money interests that involve Israel, and so they'll sell out some Palestinians. Why would they care? You know what I mean? And I love it. It's funny when the Zionists, like this white person in Brooklyn, who'll be like, "Why don't the Saudi take them? Why don't the Arab countries? Because we're not fucking from there. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Shit, then you'll come from Europe and they didn't want you. Like, get the fuck out of here. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, they keep talking about, there was some psycho settler leader woman that they just had a conference near the border with Gaza because they're trying to resettle in Gaza and they're talking about these villas and all this shit. And she was just like, yeah, they can resettle them in Europe. They'll take them. And it's like, who are you? Like, you're not even, like, literally, like, trace her back. Like, she'll tell you, I don't even know because she's old, but most people that are there, the settlers, like, if they're over, 60, 70, for the most part, even younger, maybe, for the most part, their parents weren't born there. You know what I'm saying? They're all from Europe or the US. It's really, it's wild. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be collaborators. I mean, we've seen the dictatorships in Africa, right? That doesn't represent the people. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Yeah.
silenced. I mean, in Saudi, there's brothers that were journalists that talk, if you talk against the kingdom, which, mind you, Saudi Arabia is a whole occupation too, because it's really the Hijaz, that's what it's called. But it was, they were a thug family called the Saudis, the Saud family, and uh, bribed by uh, Western powers, and they occupied Saudi Arabia. People go there for Hajj, to go to Mecca, the holiest place, right? But that you got to have some money. Since when did God talk about money? You know what I'm saying? Like, since when was it holy to tell somebody who's sick, who's been a practicing faithful Muslim, for 70 years, that they can't come if they ain't got 55,000? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's why, like, it's just a wild. There's layers to this. But yeah, I mean, in Saudi, people get the death penalty for speaking against the kingdom. People get the death penalty. They get stoned. They get beaten for protesting. It's wild. So it's not like the people can speak out there. I've met some fantastic, amazing Saudi Arabians. You know what I'm saying? They were organizing out here, but they can't out there. I mean, they'll get killed, and they're few that will speak out. So yeah.
So in saying and you schooling us on that, then the relationship or lack of with Iran, because people have been asking me, is it so? What is the relationship, or there is no relationship with Israel and Iran? Like, what is that?
Iran and Israel?
Yeah.
No, they don't have no relationship. I mean,
Well,
they
right.
don't have no relationship. Yeah, it's like Iran, like any other country, right, has a right to nuclear weapons, right? I mean, everybody has, right? Russia, America, and Israel. And I mean, these are numbers from like over 10 years ago, but Israel has over 400 nuclear weapons from America. And they're
Mm.
stored in Dimona, where many black Hebrew Israelites, black Jews live at. Um, and it's
What's the name of that
stored.
part you said?
Mhm.
What's the name of that part? Of
Dimona, DI. It's in the Naqab. It's down in the desert. Um, Dimona, Dimona. If you just Google search Dimona nuclear weapons, that's where they store them. So I mean, I don't know. It's like, if you look at the bigger picture, it's kind of like, I feel, people may not agree with me, but I feel like this is a America, like US versus Iran issue. And
mm-hmm.
Israel, of course, Israel's like totally involved, right? I mean, Israel's part of America. Israel's part of America, bro. They're the 51st state. They're funded. They're just a military base in the Middle East. That's the only good that comes out of them for the US. What other good has Israel done for the US? I mean, let's be real. You know what
So
I'm
you
saying?
just said they are by default the 51st state, right.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody knows that. They definitely are. And I mean, I feel like Israel's been itching to get Iran. I also, I have Iranian friends, so it's difficult to say because
It's
I'll just
complicated.
say this. I'll say this. I don't want somebody that beats their wife at home to
Right.
come out and talk about women's rights. You know what I'm saying? We could do without that support.
Yeah.
Um, and I also, that's all I could say on that. I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about how deep that goes. I really don't. You know what I mean? I'm not that deep into like political factions to really know. But I know that the US and Iran have an issue, and Israel is, or I should say the US is Israel's bitch at this point, but works both ways. You know what I'm saying? And Israel's itching to do something, and we're being dragged into it. I don't know. I don't even know if we should trust that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so foggy at this point of what
I
the
mean, it's
truth is.
complicated,
I
and most of us grow up here and we don't know anything. Like I don't ever remember Palestine as a word. Like I had to become an organizer, and even so, I think there's people that are watching that are also like confused. But the thing is, it's right, like you said, everything is happening in daylight. So, it's not just confusion, it's purposeful, of course. Do you think that when he's inaugurated, will they keep funding or are they going to pull back because of that kind of weird Republican thing that they want to leave wars? I mean, they're going to keep funding Israel, right? I'm just curious to know what you think about that with the new
I
administration.
don't know. I saw a video of Donald Trump saying that Joe Biden should have let Israel finish the job, that he was blocking them from finishing the job. So I don't know what he meant by that. It didn't sound good. I don't know. I don't think I think he's gonna. I think he's going to help push this along to bring it to a total fucking end. You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Who is this person? No, go ahead.
yeah, I don't I feel like he's just gonna give it that final shove to just, you know, to just
Keep the status quo. Like, yeah.
because
I mean,
I don't think he's gonna do anything positive at all. Look at his whole crew. Look at his whole crew. He's got a bunch of psychos. And I think that he's just gonna come in and do some crazy shit to
yeah.
satisfy, because you have to understand who is funding his campaign, who has funded both of his campaigns. Sheldon Alderson's wife, because Sheldon died, thank God. She's been funding his campaign with their money, and they are some of the biggest settler Zionist psychos on this earth. She offered to fund his campaign, the first one, if he agreed to move the embassy to Jerusalem and
He
call
did.
Jerusalem the capital of Israel, and he did that. She funded his campaign. So God knows what they've asked him to do now. Do you know what I'm saying? Especially with the fact that Israel's been so enabled and like not held accountable for shit at this point
Right.
of this genocide, live and direct. So, I just look, the whole Iran thing, I just found it so weird. And I don't know if anybody knows if it's a law that you have to tell somebody you're gonna bomb them. But
No.
I just found it so weird that they like said to them, hey, we're sending over 200 rockets and they're gonna get there in about 6.5 hours. And I'm like, wait, for real? So they're just waiting, like, okay, they should be arriving any minute
That
now.
is
What I
what
mean?
they're
I just
saying.
found it really weird. And I was like,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens with the military. It's like the military is just like, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, look, they're about to do that. Try to get your people out. You got 45 minutes. They can't hide anything. Nothing's secure information anymore. But so, what should people really be doing at this moment to support not only your organization, but to have a good understanding of this might not stop. Like, what does that, if it don't stop, is it what? Until everybody's gone? Is that's what it's going to come down to?
No, it would never come to that. It will never come to that. I mean, if you mean everybody is in the entire world, maybe. But as far as them trying to get rid of Palestinians, it's not going to happen. I mean, if they, God forbid, were to wipe out everybody in Gaza, I don't know. I'd probably leave the US. I wouldn't feel safe here at all. I don't feel that safe right now, to be honest. You know, it's like you can only poke somebody for, you know, because I mean, if we look at like Yemen, it didn't take that much for them to be like, nah, this shit ain't okay, and we gonna stop all your warships coming through here, no matter how many of us die. And they've been bombing the shit out of Yemen. I don't know if people have been paying attention, but there's some real ones. You know what I'm saying? They don't have much, but they have their pride, they have their morals. You know what I'm saying? And their standards and their humanity. And Lebanon too. Look at what they're doing in Lebanon. You know what I'm saying? Look at what they're doing in Lebanon. And like, you know, another thing, I don't know how much people know, but I do wanna say, and I'm not part of any political faction. I'll just repeat that for folks. I support armed resistance. I support resistance against any occupier and settler. And, you know, it's really crazy because it's always been crazy to me that people use this excuse of Hamas. And for years, bro, for years, I've been saying, okay, so why are we skipping over 40 years? Like, if I beat you up for 40 years, right? If I beat you up for 40 years and then you start you know, there's a couple of your family members and they're like, you know what, fuck this ain't okay, and they start resisting me beating you up, right? And then everyone want to be like, now when you'll fight back, now everyone's like, oh, but look at her family members, they're attacking Nancy. But I've been beating you. Hamas was not created till the 80s. The manufactured psycho highest rate of skin cancer state of Israel, okay, was created in 1948 and came in and slaughtered people in villages and towns pre-48. But let's just, for, you know, date's sake, for people that don't know that much, they were created in 1948. Hamas was not created until 1986, 87, in response to a Brooklyn Zionist Jewish man who went into a mosque by the name of Baruch Goldstein, that went into a mosque in Hebron and opened fire on Palestinians that were praying. And at that point, they were like, you know what, fuck this. You know what I'm saying? We got to fight back. And so you can't skip 40 years and try and start in 1980 something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So this excuse of Hamas is absolute bullshit. And as sad as it is of what we've seen, they've exposed themselves even more now, Israel, because they also assassinated Ismail Haniyeh. Ismail Haniyeh was the top negotiator for Hamas. He was the one that was willing to talk. You know what I'm saying? They assassinated him in Iran. What does that say about Iran?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is why Iran's questionable. They assassinated the top leader of Hamas in Iran via his cell phone. They then named the leader of Hamas Sinwar. They assassinated Sinwar. How did they assassinate him? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay. This is how crazy it is, Rosa. Sinwar, right, was killed a couple weeks ago. He was on the battlefield fighting them like every other resistance fighter on the ground in Rafah. There's no people there. They've moved everybody out of there. It's just resistance fighters fighting the fourth strongest military in the world on foot. They don't have one vehicle. and he was one of those fighters. So this notion of like, oh, Hamas fighters are living under, living in Qatar, or they're living underground, then they won't come out because they're living this life of luxury, is absolute bullshit. And Israel told on themselves when they did that. There's a video of him. They're so dumb that they released the video of him fighting. He had wrapped the keffiyeh around his head. They'd hit him already. And then the drone comes into the room that he's sitting. He sat up on the couch, but you can tell he was like taking his last breaths. And he picked up
I'm sorry, that video where you see him sitting in that chair.
He picked up the stick and threw it at the drone. Like, still, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? In his last breath. And then they shot him in the head. And then they released the autopsy last week, saying he hadn't eaten for over 72 hours. So is he part of the people or is he not?
Right.
So if somebody's starving, he went to Israeli jail for 20-something years. Torture. 20-something years he did in Israeli jail. They openly have been raping Palestinian men and putting it on TikTok, and then had a meeting in their parliament about whether it was okay to rape Palestinians.
Yeah.
Not to mention their rabbi that said, when you'll go on the field, that old ass motherfucker, I don't know if you remember that video that came out October, November, of one of these old ass generals they had that was telling the young dudes, when you go out, it's okay to rape the Palestinian women to kind of get off while you're in war.
Yeah.
So this rape culture of theirs, you know what I'm saying? And so 20-something years in jail, he's starving just like other people, and he's resisting the occupation in an emptied out city. There's no one in Rafah now. When I left a few weeks later, they started bombing it. They were on the border when we were there, and every day it was like an imminent threat of them like coming in. But they didn't come in until like 2 weeks after I left, and everybody left there. Everybody. There's not one person. None of the hospitals that any of our doctors were based at are still there or functioning. And he was there fighting back. You know what I'm saying? And that's not me like justifying anything. I'm just saying that their whole narrative of Hamas being this leadership of like, living luxury and not being actual fighters on the ground, they showed us themselves and released all the information people need to see that that's absolute bullshit. And these are people that are resisting you actively.
Because they know, like, they would rather be like, show nothing resisting. That's part of their propaganda. Like, and then you don't even have the ability to fight back, which is not true, which is part of what you're saying, Not saying that propaganda also is like, no matter what y'all do, you're never going to win. It's not a resistance movement, but there is resistance happening. So I think that's part of their propaganda, or like, don't just submit to anything because you don't have the ability to resist, but you do.
Well, yeah, they want you to believe it's some terrorists, bearded men running around shouting Allahu Akbar, trying to kill all the Jews. Absolute fucking shit. I mean, you got to be an idiot if you believe that. At this point, I've always said this, right? I've always been like, I mean, you could like pull up videos of me from 5-10 years ago speaking in Times Square, wherever, where I'm just like, bro, you have everything in your phone now. You have no excuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could look up everything, and regardless of if my mother tells me something, I research it. You know what I mean? I need to read and understand. And you got to be real ignorant to believe that, like, what? I don't understand, like, what people be like, oh, they've been fighting forever. Oh, you know what I mean? Then if it's been forever, then there's got to be a fucking reason behind this shit. Like, go research. You know what I'm saying? If somebody takes your home and murders your family, or is coming to your home with the intent to murder your family, you do whatever the fuck is in your power, if you're a real motherfucker, to protect your family and your home. You understand what I'm saying? And if somebody slaughtered your entire family in front of you, I'm not saying that revenge is always good, but what you gonna do? And if you do something to the people that did that to you and slaughtered your whole family and maybe raped your children in front of you, do you have the right to fucking lash out? You tell me. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if people really believe that it's just a bunch of dudes running around, no, it's not. You know, you think about all the people that lost their parents in 2022 when Israel bombed Gaza, or 2021 when Israel bombed Gaza, or 2020, or 2018, or 2016, 2014, you know, 2010, 2008, 2009. Like, they've been bombing Gaza, you know, consistently. And in 2014, 2008, 2009, 2014, and 2021, so many people died, like thousands. And these are people's children, these are people's parents, and you're going to get resistance from that. And if they think now, you know, I don't even know what the number of orphans is at this point. But, you know, I wonder about them. When we were talking about destruction, I don't wonder about
Yeah.
destruction. I wonder about, like, you know, the trauma. I wonder about what's going to happen to all the orphans. Like, they do look after them there, but what are they going to grow up to be? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
mean, yeah, you know, I just don't understand, particularly in this country, how for months people could be saying ceasefire and then on election day be like Harris, right? Like, it's like that whole disconnect. But also, it's people. These are human beings, and I think part of it is not showing humanity to anybody there. But we're in the belly of the beast, and I think people got to confront how did you go and for all these months be like, you know, not voting for ceasefire, you're not going to get my vote, you're not going to get my vote. How did people think this was going to end up any different? I think people didn't realize, particularly some of the tactical strategies that the uncommitted movement had. Where, you know, I think this is kind of the end of the duopoly, but I don't, you know, I think people are feeling like we can't just normalize this. This is not normal. This is not right. Like, what can we do? And I think people are feeling too, like, you know, a little frustrated, but I'm also like, yo, you had a choice and you made the wrong choice. Like, I'm not personally interested in going to anything like at this point, because any conference, convening, march, protest, or whatever, there's going to be people there saying he's got to go. The same people that beginning of this genocide were like, we're with the Palestinian people, then voted for Harris and now crying. I don't want to be around, like, I don't want to be around all of that. And I think we have to decide, a lot of us who, I don't progressive, like a lot of us that are radical and more revolutionary minded, I don't even think we should be going around any of these people anymore. And the crazy
I
thing
mean,
is,
yeah, but
go
don't
ahead.
worry about them people, Rosa, because I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, like, I'm gonna be totally honest. There's a lot of Palestinians that voted for Trump, voted for Harris. They're just
I know.
ignorant. Like, I don't. It doesn't. The bottom line is, if we understand that it doesn't fucking matter who you voted for, it's not gonna make a difference to Palestine. I don't think we're there. Like, even when it was you and Cynthia McKinney, could you imagine if you had won? Like, it's not going to happen right now. Like, Stein, it was great, it was symbolic, but I knew, like, in my heart, you think about all of Middle America. I should say, like, Caucasian Middle America. They're not voting for Stein. Do you know
Well,
what I'm
no,
saying? If you
I
think
mean,
about how many racists there are in this country, they're not voting for a Jewish lady, right? They're
absolutely.
just not, you know what I'm saying? So I just say, like, I'm not even mad at people, bro. If you know, if someone turned around to me and was like, I voted for Harris, I'd be like, you're a dickhead. But I wouldn't even be mad, like, because I know that it's not going to make a difference to Palestine. I just
Well, no,
know that.
that's what I was saying. I agree again that all this electoral stuff is dead. It's not working. You know, there it's like the beginning of the end of that. You know, because people are just super frustrated. But it won't matter if we have third parties that are still working within the construct of this electoral political project, as opposed to localize your stuff, support who you can support, have town halls or whatever that have nothing to do with voting, bring people together in a community, because I think that's what people are searching for. And I think part of the whole social media what's that word? When you're not sensitive anymore,
Desensitize
you
it,
just do
yeah.
your phone. The phone should be a tactic, because coming real soon, these things are not going to be accessible. Like, if anybody thinks in these next 4 years they're not going to try to shut down all these forms of communication, then all the disinformation, then all the pretending that, Trump is more a populist, he cares. I mean, the only thing I found strange, maybe that's not the right word, is that he visited with Arab Americans. I was like, what? And they visited with him. So I see what you're saying about that. It's,
Fucking joke.
right, because every sister ain't a sister, every brother ain't a brother. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I just think people really want to find a way to be in community, but that person or who you are, you have to understand these things. You don't have the luxury just to turn away. I mean, you do if you want, but that's not what we need right now. So in terms of at this moment, because I'm sure it's like every day, how can people support the work that you all are doing, and what would be like something, a couple points you can give to people, like, and you can do this as well.
So, Eyewitness Palestine, we have a delegation going in December. Actually, applications close Friday. It's a Black and Indigenous delegation. So, unfortunately, for our white comrades, you would have to apply for February when that comes up. But this is a Black and Indigenous delegation um, for folks to visit Black Palestinians, African refugees in 48 lands, what they call Israel, and also Ethiopian Jews and Palestinian Black Jews that live in the mountains in Nablus. And so, if you're interested in that trip, it's a 10-day trip. We have scholarships, partial scholarships available too. Go to our website, eyewitnesspalestine.org. It's EYE, witnesspalestine.org. There's an interest form on the website. You could sign up, if you're interested in coming. The other thing I would say is just to keep elevating Palestinian voices. It's funny you talked about desensitization, because I was just in Oakland at an event, and a brother said to me, a lot of us are feeling desensitized. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I do. He said, what can we do? What can we do? What do you do when you feel like that? And I said, I don't feel like that. I don't feel desensitized. I feel, sometimes I feel numb, because it's so much to take in, like the grief. And so I might not watch videos for half a day. Like in the mornings, I don't start my day by watching the news. I watch it a little bit later. I have to get some shit done, and I can't when I watch it, because I do absorb every single story. First of all, for me, I understand every word they're saying in the videos. Sounds like my mom, sounds like my aunt, my dad, sounds like my grandfather, you know what I'm saying? And so I absorb everybody's story, and I listen to their story, and you know what I mean? It's not just another Palestinian. It's not just another uh it's not just another name or body, you know what I'm saying? For me, it's way more like, it's just another level. So, and I feel like it's super privileged to be like, oh, I'm you know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna keep scrolling, and like I don't feel nothing. Well, fuck you. I mean, like honestly, like if people really feel to that point where they don't feel nothing when they're watching these videos, they're not human. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I feel like it's just privileged shit, because it's on your phone, so you can switch it off. But when it comes into your fucking neighborhood, and believe me, if this shit keeps going,
it
there
will.
are fanatics out there, bro. And this ain't about religion, but motherfuckers will make it about religion. And when that happens, that's why I said to you, I don't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? I'm a I'm not really a very religious person myself. My family's Christian Palestinian, but I don't claim that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm Palestinian, and I respect all religions, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying there's fanatics in every religion. We're seeing it with Israel, which I don't even believe in all honesty, that that's real Judaism, because I know my father made us read the Torah, the Quran, and the Injil, the Bible, and there's not one religion that teaches you what Israel is doing is okay. And I know that Judaism is not about genocide and the the terrorizing of an entire nation they've built this fake ass state on. So they don't represent Judaism. In fact, there's nothing more anti-Semitic than Israel, I think. And what they've done is put all Jews around the world in danger. And so, yeah, I just, I feel like people need to keep talking and not just talking. Like, if you're a citizen, there's this civil disobedience, right? It's been forever. Like, there's things that you can do. And I mean, even past civil disobedience, like PAL Action is doing amazing work, right? If you can't, PAL Action, PAL Action, they just opened a American, what do you call it? Not office, but yeah, but faction in the US. They started in the UK. You should definitely go on their page, PAL Action. They're the ones shutting down the weapons manufacturers. So if you can't stop these motherfuckers here sending the money to Israel and the weapons, shut down the ones making the fucking weapons. Go right to the source and shut that shit down. And I don't think there is anything immoral about going to a weapons factory and trying to shut that shit down. You know what I'm saying? Because what they make is shit to kill people and fuck life up. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing immoral about you doing that. And if I understand people that are not, undocumented folks and people that have a lot more to risk, if they get arrested or whatever, I don't know people's backgrounds. But if you do have that privilege, join PAL Action, bro. That's something you could tell your kids you did. You know what I'm saying? What did you do? I was trying to shut down those fucking weapons factories. You know what I'm saying? And it's not always that they go inside. Everybody has their role. They don't always go inside and smash shit up, which is amazing when they do. But just being outside there, marking it, you know what I'm saying? Letting people know that this is a fucking death building. Protesting at weapons factories. There's a lot of protests outside weapons factories. We need to start really like zoning in on the people making every single bullet and every single rocket and every single fucking crazy ass bomb that is murdering people. And again, it's funny because there's a clip that resurfaced. My sister Dariella, my Dominican sister, she's an educator from the Bronx. She came to Palestine in 2017 with us. And we were on the Conan O'Brien show. We ran up on Conan O'Brien in Palestine. And there's a clip that resurfaced recently. And she's saying to him, you have a responsibility to speak out. You have a huge platform. And the thing is that everything's going to get so fucking bad that by the time you realize that you want to help, it's going to be too fucking late.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the only time people, and I've always said this since we created Existence is Resistance in 2009, I've always told people my approach has always been direct shit, right? Like things that directly affect people. People don't care about anything that they think doesn't directly affect them. But Malcolm X said it best, right? The chickens will come home to roost. I'm just saying, bro, this is a domino effect, you know what I'm saying? And this is not just affecting Palestinians in Palestine. This is not just affecting the bodies that you're seeing being shredded or the beheaded babies, you know what I'm saying? Or the people they're running over with bulldozers, or the people they're throwing off buildings, or the men that they're raping. Like it's not just them that are being affected. This is a global thing. And so before it is too late, and shit reaches our front doors, we need to do something about it. And so either you can sit there and say, oh, I'm so frustrated, I can't look at these fucking videos anymore, or you fucking do something about it. And there's plenty of organizations that are doing direct action. But again, PAL Action is one that I really respect. Existence Resistance, we used to do, actions all over the city 15 years ago, and everyone called us radical. You know what I'm saying? And we weren't shutting down weapons factories. We were shutting down Zionist events, but we weren't shutting down weapons factories. We were shutting down birthright events, you know what I'm saying, where they're trying to recruit people to go out there. Things like that. But yeah, everybody has a role in this, man. Everyone has a role in this. So
so before we wrap up, thank you for your comments. I think most of them are on point, and I think we should be doing something more than we're doing right now. But like you were just saying, I think people are going to begin to say, well, I'm documented. I'm not undocumented. I am. And the guy who's going to push him, Stephen Miller, who created all of this way, there's this guy, Tom Homan, that I'm like, people need to watch that 60 Minutes interview where the Cecilia Vega, the journalist says, well, what are you going to do in mixed status families? And he goes, well, you can go be deported with your family. And I just remember, like, at the beginning of the Dreamers and that work, I wrote about how they were creating like a two level system of who's the good one to stay and who's the bad one to go. So if people think that it's just going to be on the doorsteps of undocumented people, then the next thing will be, right? Well, we got to round up Muslim people. Oh, we got to round out journalists. Oh, we got to shut down the nonprofits. Like, that's where we're heading, and I'm like, if you think you're safe, we're not safe. Because also this white nationalist movement is a Christian nationalist movement. It doesn't, it's not like Trump is out here with a Bible every day or whatever, but he has. But the whole thing is, if anybody thinks they're safe at this moment with who you are, your body, your children, your job, everything, then they don't know history, right? And this idea that it's going to stop. Well, you know what? When y'all thought he wasn't going to win, then you thought he wasn't going to win again. Now all these Democrats want to blame Latino women and Muslims, and I'm like, blame yourself, because you put him here, and blame the 4 white women you see. 2 of them, again, voted for Trump. And I'm going to have to ask that question. If I see 4 women, white women, I'll be like, hey, 53% of y'all voted for Trump. Which 2 of you? Which I'm like, I don't even want to be around none of this nonsense where people think it's not going to be bad. And also, this is a world, like, we got the South Africans continually going up there, putting their statements, wanting to do, what needs to be done, war crimes and all of that stuff. And I think that's very important. I just think at this point, we should just remember, most of us are just not safe, and if they can do this around the world, they can certainly do it in this country. And people better, like, get ready now. So I'm like, local organizing. So it's PAL Action. Yeah, I'm gonna, so I will look into that, Nancy. And people here are just like agreeing, talk about the third parties merging, which, I'm for all of that. I just, again, know that being elected anymore really doesn't change the game. It just more sucks you into that, thinking that voting works. And also, half the people in this country, again, didn't vote. To me, that's tactical as well. But just give out the information again for Eyewitness Palestine, and how people can support. It would be great if people here could give some donations that they could use for some people when they go in December that might not have all the funds, but also bring much needed things when you go with your delegation. So if you could give out that information again.
I appreciate that, babe. So just real quick, just to your point, though, of it being here also, I mean, remember, there's a 6-year-old boy, Wadi al-Fayoumi, who was stabbed to death, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy in Chicago who was stabbed to death with his mum. His mum survived in Chicago last year. And also more recently, last month, a few weeks ago, the 8-year-old girl in Detroit who was Yemeni, who had her throat slashed by a white man, old white dude. I mean, people are, I mean, it's already reached here on some level. You know what I'm saying?
Nancy, before you give that out, just so I can make this quick point, what you just said, but this week, thousands of mostly Black college students got these text messages about, like, hey, he's the president, report to your plantation now. It's all over. Now they're picking it up. These text messages, I saw one of my friends post it, and I was like, yo, that's what they do. It's beginning now, fear mongering, but it's also an attack. So now y'all are going after, quote, American citizens, kids at HBCUs. What's the purpose? Because that's what they're preparing for. And what trauma does that bring, particularly to younger people who, you know, are being killed by white. I'm sure there's more, and unfortunately more might happen. But you know, like beginning to instill that fear and the sense of powerlessness. But the fact that they were able to even get those numbers, somebody was like, "How did they do it?" I'm like, "A computer with the CIA and the FBI. No one, your phone is a tracker." But to even get those messages, I think in itself just now probably has all those 18, 19-year-olds like, what the F? I'm like, yeah, what the F? If they're sending this, what are they going to do?
What
They're
about
not
the trauma it brings to the elders that lived through this shit
through Jim
already?
Crow. Yeah.
All
And,
the it's like all the, you know, the elders in power. My father, you know, he's in Haifa right now. He's in
yeah.
48. But it's the same thing. It's like the trauma that they're reliving. You know what I'm saying? Of something that we thought was in the past. You know what I mean? We thought it was like history, but it's not. It's today. It's reality, and it's But the difference is that we do have the power to do something about it. You know, it's just that people are ignorant, lazy, and selfish, and they just won't realize till it slaps them in the face. You know what I mean? But yeah, as far as Eyewitness Palestine, I just want people to know too, if you do make a donation, when you go to our website, there is a donate button. We truly appreciate it. We don't just do delegations. So although we have the delegations and we have the scholarship programs, we also do mutual aid programs. So we've supported different organizations on the ground in Palestine. Like last year, we raised $68,000 and we donated 50,000 of that to different orgs on the ground. So just as an example, this month we are paying 6,000 for operations for a new school that Susan Abul Hawa from Playgrounds for Palestine created in Gaza. So there's a school for 120 students, which is just a drop in the bucket of the million children that are there, but at least it's 120 kids that are getting to go to school. So we're funding a month operations for them. We also just paid Autism Superhero Palestine for them to train 15 families on how to handle family members with autism. You know, Palestinians, I mean, as you can see, are busy trying to survive. But in general, you know, kids with autism or any kind of disability are usually kind of just pushed to the side. They don't go to school, none of that. So this organization helps them. It helps them with education, and it helps them be able to communicate with their family members. So we funded that. We also funded 22,000 through donations and a webinar that we did for the Women's Center for Legal Aid and Counseling for Abused Women that come out of Israeli jails that have been beaten, raped, and whatnot. So we're doing a lot of work, not just taking people there and changing people's lives and your whole perspective on life, you know, once you visit there. But we're also supporting organizations on the ground in Palestine. So, you know, definitely please do support if you can, whether it's $1, 100, whatever it is. It really does help. And if you sign up to our mailing list, you'll get our webinars. We do webinars with folks from Palestine every month. We do a virtual delegation at the last Wednesday of every month. We have a dope-ass Palestinian take you around their city or their town, and our filmmaker, you know, makes a dope little short video with them, and it tells you about where they live at and like the struggles they face there, but also the beauty of where they live. So you could sign up and you'll get the emails so that you could join those webinars, and most of them are pretty much free, or you know, $1 donation or something. So yeah, please do follow us. We're on Instagram, Eyewitness, EYEWITNESS Palestine. So I
Well,
appreciate you.
thank you. Oh, I love you. I'll see you in a few days. Thank you too for just like really breaking it down. I think that folks don't know a lot of this, and sometimes they feel like ashamed, like why did I know? And it's like that's not what we're about. This is part of organizing and activism. You don't know everything for a reason, but once you know, and you have a
Don't feel bad if you don't know. Now you know.
you
You know
know.
what I'm saying? Now you know. If
Right.
you come back on the next time I'm on here talking about you don't know, then you're whack. You know?
She will talk about you live.
But
But
if you know,
what I asked all my guests is what makes you a disruptor?
huh?
The show is called Disrupt the Chaos. I asked all my guests, what makes you a disruptor?
What makes me I'm Palestinian, baby.
And that's it. And that
That's
is
it.
it.
The fire in my soul.
Well, girl, like, you are so loved. You are so incredible. You are like 100% a G. I don't know how sometimes you do this. I'm always in constant awe of you. I really, really am. And we're so grateful that you are part of this larger community and that you're here. You know, you're not going anywhere in terms of the fight. Maybe somewhere else you'll move. But I love you. I'll see you in a couple days where we can hug each other and have a semblance of something while we're probably organizing at the same time. So everybody, first and foremost, thank you for watching. We're trying to get better here with the show. I know people want to volunteer. Legit, do not DM me because those messages are beginning to disappear, which I know why. ClementeRosa@gmail. We'll have Nancy back, and I love you. We love you. We're grateful for you, everybody. I'll be on tomorrow. I'm waiting for the guests, but tomorrow I'll do my other new show, Can't Stop Our Blackness. That's a show to uplift Black Latinx people in the United States. And in fact, what we're going to do tomorrow is kind of do what we did today, like give people information on that. But it's not just about identity. It's really about the politic and stuff. So we love you, girls. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. Thank you,
I
everybody.
appreciate
I'll see you
you.
tomorrow at 7. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you, sis. Free Puerto Rico.
All the ways. Free Palestine and Puerto Rico. Both. Love you, girl. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Yes, so my email is ClementeRosa@gmail. Please follow Nancy. And it's a lot. It's a lot, and to have someone able to really come and break it down, and that it again, the whole movement is lucky to have a Nancy Mansour. Thank you, everybody. Maybe I'll end up how to finally do this on Instagram Live through the StreamYard. But again, ClementeRosa@gmail, and then tomorrow my Can't Stop Our Blackness at 7 p.m. And then we'll see you also next week. So I'm doing Wednesdays for Disrupt the Chaos, and then Thursdays. And all of this is made possible with Cooperation Jackson. But, the last little thing, if you want to volunteer, if you know social media, I know a couple people that want to help me produce. And, if you want to give a donation too, just email me and we'll figure that out. Everybody stay safe. See you tomorrow. Peace. Peace, everybody. Thank you.